Hey, thanks for dropping by to the Planners on Purpose podcast, created by Naomi Tucker, CMP. Now, this space is for the event planners to encourage and empower you so that you can fully live your life on purpose. So before we dig in, please take a moment to subscribe so you get future shows. Now here she comes, your host, Naomi.
Well, hello, this is Naomi and welcome to the Planners on Purpose podcast. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another episode. And I wanted to talk about brain drain and stress today, only because I keep thinking about recalling and remembering certain things. And when I'm at it doesn't even have to be when I'm at my most stressed, but when I am stressed or just have a lot going on, it's really difficult to recall certain things, and it can be the simplest thing. And as a parent, you can forget your kids' names, to tell you the truth. And other times I maybe forget my keys are in the car, and many times I struggle with figuring out what people's names are. When I do come across them, I know who they are. I see their face. I know that they're familiar, but I just can't place their name, and it's on the tip of my tongue. Have you ever experienced that, where you've struggled with remembering people's names or just anything, just a slight brain recall malfunction? It happens to the best of us. Seriously, it does. And that's why I wanted to talk about that today, and how brain drain and stress can be related. And typically that just comes from your brain overworking. And I was listening to a really great TED Talk about brain drain and how that is actually a thing. And the fact that even just multitasking can definitely lead to you draining your brain and not having the capability to recall some of those memories. So I wanted to just highlight a few things and share them with you, because I think that this is very helpful, especially if we're in an environment that we are stressing a lot. And not only just stressing, is doing lots of multitasking. And when we're doing lots of that multitasking, because I think when we're planning events and in the event profession, there's just so much going on all of the time, right? You probably are planning one thing, getting a call for some other event, but then you get an IM for a different event, and your brain can actually be working overtime just trying to do mental multitasking. But all of these little things that we do, they take up brain space. And it can be very hard for us to do that. And I believe I've talked about this before, about task switching. It can be really hard on the brain hard on you to go from one task to another. When you have so many competing priorities and you're multitasking like that, it can take up a lot of energy. So here's a fun little fact. Your memory storage, which is your long-term memory storage, it has the capabilities of storing up to 5,000 iPhones worth of information. That is a lot of information, but sometimes I don't think that I have that much room. And the reason why is because when you look at the short-term memory is about give or take 7 bits of memory, which is significantly smaller. So when we have our short-term memory and we're trying to really recall things so quickly, so often, that is where we can actually get off track. We can totally get off track. And stress can play a big part of this. And it's not necessarily that it's a huge amount of stress that can affect it, but it's just all of the little things that take up space in your brain, and it forces you to just really rotate through all those small little things that are in your brain. And those are the things that lead you to leave your keys and struggle with names and struggle with what you just said 5 minutes ago. That is where most of the challenges are. And it's interesting because there's an article that was referenced from Queen's University, and that it mentions that we have 62,000 thoughts each day. Wow, 62,000 thoughts. So if each of us has 62,000 thoughts each day, that is such a potential for lots of distractions throughout our day. So it's easy to understand that we can struggle with recalling things, and really that these thoughts can really drain energy from us and put a drain on our brain. Stress does also make it pretty hard for us to retrieve memories as well. So we are always trying to compensate. If we're interrupted and have to task switch, we usually compensate for working faster and trying to work harder. And when we continue to compensate and we're always working faster and harder, by the end of the day, we are definitely exhausted and pretty much tapped out. You are mentally exhausted. And when someone says that, it means that their brain is drained, and them recalling anything and making decisions, it can be significantly tough to do that. And stress makes it hard for us, again, to retrieve those memories. And it makes it hard also, though, for us to be innovative and find the solutions that we need. We usually just resort to the easiest thing when we're tired and when we're overworked. We're not necessarily trying to be innovative and doing kind of something different. That comes by giving our brain some rest and doing some techniques in order to help us to recall great solutions and to recall our short-term memory. So a few things that you can do regarding recharging your brain cells is, number one, think about something else other than what you're trying to recall. So if you're struggling on recalling a memory, someone's name, for instance, what you need to pick up from the grocery store, you can just think about something else. And when you do that, you can activate other parts of your brain and give your memory center some reset and some rest. That's an easy way to not work so hard and grabbing onto that memory, but switching directions, thinking or doing something else slightly until you can get that memory recalled. Because sometimes memories do come to you automatically, and we're just trying to activate that automatic side. That makes it much easier. The second thing would be to take a break. Get up, get out, take a break, do something for a few minutes. That's why nature is so good. Going out, taking a walk in nature, looking at something different, reading a magazine, just something different can refresh your mental resources, and it gives your brain the time it needs in order to find the information that it needs, because it is in there. It's just giving your brain the opportunity to be able to do it. And one I really like to do is getting a cold glass of water. I know it sounds really crazy, but it works for me, is getting a cold glass of water, nice little break. It is me doing something else other than the thing at hand, but something about that cold glass of water really just kind of helps me to reset. It gives a little bit of stimulation to your senses, and it's refreshing, and it thus refreshes your mind and your brain. And that also helps too. So brain drain is definitely a thing. And since we're prone to so much stress, and since we are big, huge multitaskers, which we probably shouldn't be multitasking, we should be unitasking, focusing on one thing at a time. But, we're not going to run away from the truth. We definitely are great at multitasking, but many times it really takes a big effect on our energy, especially our brain energy. So when we are in an industry that we have to utilize those resources in these ways, and we have that stress that's around it, we need to make sure that we're doing these things to be able to recharge ourselves, recharge our brain cells, so that we can show up, be innovative, to find the solutions that we need, and allow our brain to work for us. So thank you so much for joining this podcast episode. I hope that you enjoyed this one. And until next time, stay on purpose.
Well, that wraps it up for this episode. If you enjoyed the conversation, hit the like button and tell us how much you enjoyed the show by leaving a message in the comments. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.